Live.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, September 20th. It is now 6 p.m. Town Council meeting in the Town Council chambers for Sewer Subcommittee. Mark, will you lead us in prayer?
Father, we pray you continue to watch over this town, watch over us as we conduct this meeting tonight, and help us, Father, to do things in a way that's right and true by you and according to the laws of the land. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Chair, will you lead in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Council President Goslin.
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Councilman Messier. Councilman Licciardi.
Here.
Councilman Bourget.
Here.
Participating communities, Town of Coventry, Town of Situate, City of Cranston, City of Warwick, Town of West Greenwich. There is a quorum present, Council President.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda is Resolution SC 2022-30, approval of the June 21st, 2022 Sewer Commission minutes.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second. Moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item is Superintendent's report.
Good evening, Council. All right, so we have operations for August 2022. Our average flow was 3.3 million gallons per day. Our max flow was 7.4 million gallons per day, and our minimum flow was 1.3 million gallons per day. For CBOD removal, we came in at 99% removal, which equaled 2.2 milligrams per liter. For total suspended solids, we had 99% removal, which equated to 2.5 milligrams per liter. For phosphorus removal, we achieved a 0.07 milligrams per liter, and nitrogen was 4.9 milligrams per liter. So we're all within our permit limits as far as removals. For sludge, we sent 205 tons to Synagro. To the landfill, we sent 304 tons for a total of 509 tons for the month. For sewer backups, there was 0 in the public lines, and there was 1 in the private lines on Revere Avenue. As far as violations, there were no violations to report for the month. And for odor complaints, there were 10, 7 from the residents on Providence Street, 2 from the resident on Fernwood Drive, and 1 from Victory Avenue. So I know odor complaints are a hot topic, and we're getting a lot of calls coming in. So I want Josh to come up here. He's been reaching out to people that have been calling us and keeping track of these records. So I want him to talk a little bit about odor at the facility. Josh?
For the record, Councilman Messier is in attendance.
Council, how you doing? My name is Joshua Hoke, Assistant Superintendent at the wastewater plant. As Jeff said, we had a total of 10 odor complaints in the month of August, 7 of which came from a similar resident. And if you have any questions or comments to ask me about this, that would be good.
Why so high?
Why do we have?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Why do we have all these orders?
There's many different factors probably that comes into play. As you know, we had very little rain this summer at all. So the flow coming into the plant is not diluted as much as it normally is. So the H2S can build up in the system a little bit. Also, as you know, on either side of the plant, there is a wetland area, and that wetland area dried up over the summer. There was no water whatsoever in it. So I think that some of the contributing factors were all that mud and all that sludge that's in those wetlands was just drying up and it was smelling. We had no detections in our walkarounds in the plant as far as H2S goes. We do that 3 times a day, 1 each shift. And we also had DEM come by, and they did a walk around with us in regards to the odor complaints, and they were satisfied with our actions and our actions in mitigating any odor.
Why do we still have odor now?
I'm sorry?
We still have odor now. Why?
For us, there's no detection of any odor as far as the chemicals go and the
Right.
H2S
So
goes.
yesterday I dropped my kids off at St. Joseph's in the
Sure.
morning. I spoke with the principal because they had contacted me. Contacted me a few weeks ago. Before I got involved, they said, no, we're gonna call the plant, we'll handle it. So I talked to the principal yesterday. She said she was gonna call. I didn't do anything. It was bad. It was bad in the morning at drop off, around 8:15 or so. I went to drop off today and I said, how'd you make out? She said, I called twice, was hung up on twice. So I said, okay, I'll make a phone call. So I didn't do anything. I figured tonight. My wife went to pick up my kids today at about 3 o'clock. And she said the smell was so bad, windows are up and the smell kept coming in. And I mean, this is like a daily thing now. So we know there's an odor. We know where it is. What are we gonna do about it?
In regards to the call from St. Joseph, the chief operator, myself, did make a trip over there the same day that we got the call. We brought our H2S meter, we did a walk around, we spoke to a few individuals. At the time that we were there, we didn't detect any odor at all, and we detected no H2S whatsoever.
Okay, so how do you want to proceed? Because I know what I smell. I know what they smell. They're all outside, people are dropping their kids off, picking their kids up, and they're all making comments. So what do you want to do?
Further, so last week, Jeff and I took a trip to Newport to visit the wastewater treatment plant there. And they did an odor essay. So they're having the odor evaluated and we are looking into that option. So as soon as we have more information on that, we will definitely inform you.
So what about this powerful solution that we've purchased? Isn't that supposed to stop the odors?
It stops the development of the gas H2S, which is the offensive odor that most wastewater treatment plants produce.
Okay.
And as far as that goes, we feel like it's working very well. It's not producing, we're not producing H2S.
Okay, so the next time I smell it while I'm there, do I call you guys immediately?
Absolutely.
Okay, so,
I can say, and I don't want to cut you.
I mean, I
off,
don't know what
Councilman.
else to say about this. I mean,
It's been I go through there every Saturday, Sunday morning, 7 a.m. The last 2-3 weekends, it's been unbearable in the Natick section, in the upper Natick towards the ball field. So I'm not sure what's going on. Saturday morning, 7 a.m., Sunday morning, 7 a.m. I go right by both those, right through that section. Because I'm going right to Ball Hill Road. And it's been the last 3 weekends.
Well, certainly I would say when that happens, definitely give us a call and we can send someone out to see if we can detect where it's coming from. Because on our end, I believe that we are taking all mitigation steps that we can.
Has DEM suggested any other remedies?
As of yet, they suggested we use a chemical called sodium permanganate, which we are investigating the use of. Potassium permanganate, excuse me. So that's one option that we are also exploring. But that's also very similar to the chemical that we're already using. It's a oxidizer, which prevents the buildup of H2S.
In our other plants having similar problems this year, do you know, have you had any conversations with your counterparts?
So with regards to traveling to Newport, they are also having a similar issue.
95 near Warwick stinks a lot
Yes,
too.
it does.
That's correct. Yep.
I'm just a little confused on two things that you said.
Sure.
One is that you said definitively we are not producing H2S.
That's correct.
Then why would you need other chemicals to get rid of the smell?
Just something that DEM suggested. So
I know,
we
but
are
if there is no
investigating it.
smell, why would DEM even suggest that? That's what I'm confused on.
That's a good question, and that's something that we're trying to evaluate as well. All of the instrumentation that we have is telling us that we're not producing this gas.
Do you have this instrument?
Absolutely.
All right, because you have two council members sitting here telling you that you do have an H2S smell. And apparently DEM recognized it, otherwise they wouldn't have offered a solution to something that doesn't exist.
Sure.
So you do have an H2S problem.
Well,
And that goes back to Councilman Licciardi's question. Don't we already have a system that's supposed to get rid of that? And
Yep.
why isn't it working?
I would
Yeah.
suspect that there's
more
other
than that.
reasons
That's right.
that could cause smells other than one particular gas.
That's
Well,
correct.
I'm only going what he said. He said that H2S is what's called, is the offensive odor is the way he worded it. He did
is
say
a
that.
primary cause of it, which
Typically,
they have
yes.
solutions to try to mitigate. But I would suspect from what I'm hearing that there's a second reason or possibly a third reason that there's issues
So
that
we
need to be
work down to that.
mitigated.
That's why I'm
Exactly.
confused, because we're only given one issue and we're telling it, it's being said that it's not there, but it's also being said that it is there. So that's why I'm confused, because we're being told two different things about the same thing.
I think what Josh said was the lack of rain this summer
Yeah.
has caused those areas on either side to dry out, which I don't know if that, where those smells was emanate from, to be honest with you. So
Well, it's
And
kind
that
of a
was-
similar
That's the
thing.
second part of my confusion, is I understand, like, you're not getting the water to help dilute the system before it
Sure.
gets into the plant. That makes sense.
Yes.
I'm not confused about that part. But on the sides, you're saying that the mud is what's releasing the odor?
Yes, so
Okay, so that's only at 7 o'clock in the morning and at 8:30 in the morning?
No,
Because otherwise, when you go there with this instrument or your other instruments, that smell should still be there, correct? Because it's just mud coming off the mud, then it should always be there.
right.
So that kind of
And there-
negates what you
there are
said.
other times, I can vouch for that. There are other times that there are smells at
The
9:30, I
whole point
know.
Is their instruments, even their noses aren't picking it up because they say they go there and they don't smell anything. When two council members say they do, now three council members say
Oh,
they do
absolutely,
smell it.
Absolutely.
This is quite a disturbing smell, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a sewer
so
plant.
we
yes.
know, but it's reaching up though, and we have kids in school. So I'm not saying it's your fault that we have a smell, but we have one. Can you please look into it and go up to the school and check it out? That's all I'm asking.
Let me,
And I think they're asking the same thing.
I think, Councilman, you're right, and, you know, I haven't been there with the odors, but I just want to explain something, because I don't want people to get confused.
Thank you.
When you have the odors that are generated I've been around wastewater for a very, very long time. In the past, hydrogen sulfide was the main culprit, rotten egg smell. Well, once you take out and strip out hydrogen sulfide and it's no longer present, there is another chemical, it's called mercaptans, that are locked into the wastewater that generates an odor. Okay, I'm not, if the hydrogen sulfide meter reads 0, you gotta read I'm not saying what they're smelling isn't an odor. Not questioning that at all, because when my daughter used to drive by 295, I'd get a call. So I understand this. So what the staff, we'll talk to the staff, is looking at the other chemicals, and if they do this analysis, then they could find out if there are other things that are present in the waste stream that they need to attack. Hydrogen sulfide, which the chemicals they're using, has addressed that. I mean, we're not generating. I don't know what the odors are. Was it a rotten?
Smells
odor?
like shit.
Okay, so,
Plain
no,
English.
no.
I mean, I don't
and
know how else
that's
to describe it.
And that's okay. I mean, that's a different odor than hydrogen sulfide. And hydrogen sulfide is a rotten egg smell. You'll know the distinction. So that tells me that there are other chemicals that have to be evaluated in the air stream to resolve this issue. And if they do that sequestering study, it might help. I just wanted to explain, why hydrogen sulfide might read 0, yet there's odors. Okay, because hydrogen sulfide is only one element of the odors. With regards to the wetlands, in past dry summers, the organic matter in the wetlands decomposes and does generate an off gas, an odor. You're right, it's not time dependent. It's not 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, but it is there.
But that's my point, is I
Could
was
be wind
confused
dependent.
because he's saying it's there, but it's not there, because he said they've gone out there and they haven't smelled anything.
It could be wind dependent also.
There's many things, there's
Wind
many
blows the other way, it goes
factors.
Every Sunday and Saturday and Sunday morning, wind's blowing in the same direction.
I will say
Just
the
saying,
last 3
you know.
Saturdays and Sundays that I've gone down there, and obviously Saturdays my wife is with me, Sundays I go that way alone, and I'm like, Jesus.
I'm just saying, if he's smelled it twice at the same time of the day, you smelled it twice at the same time of the day over the course of 3 different weekends, then it's
I
not so
don't
much
think
a
it's
wind
just in
dependent
the,
thing.
I don't think it's just in the morning though.
That's
I
the
mean,
just
time,
what
that's the
I'm
time I'm
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm
that's when
just-
I've
I'm-
smelled
That's my
it.
point, is
So
they say they get the call, they go out there, they don't smell anything.
Well, one
They
of
look at
the,
meter doesn't detect anything, so they don't do anything.
it's important to get the call, because
Right.
what the practice has been is to identify what are we doing at the plant at the time. I mean, you might get a complaint and the sludge truck is leaving. Okay. You might get an odor complaint and find that the garbage pickup was in the area that day. These are issues that have been there in the past. I'm not excusing any odor complaints, please. I'm just telling you, it's important for the plant, for you to call, anybody to call the plant when they notice the odor, so they can get wind direction. They have the ability to do this. So it's important to get the feedback, and Jason, call. That's all I can say.
I actually would like to address, you said that St. Joseph said they were hung up on?
Yes.
So maybe we could have the name of that person
to the
and you can
principal
contact them and
this
find out
morning,
more about that. That's
she-
unacceptable.
And she wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I'm going there, so I'm catching the brunt of it. You know, they know I'm a councilman.
Yep.
You know, my kids go there, they're reaching out. And right now it's basically, this is what the kids have to smell there in school. So
And thank you, Jim, for clarifying, because you may have years and years and years of experience with the sewage plant. I've got probably equivalent of like 2 or 3 days. So, that's why when I'm hearing two different things coming out of the same person, it's confusing. That's why, thank you for clarifying.
Thought it'd be important to kind of explain odors, because we beat up on odors. That's why my hair is all gray.
Is that the only reason why?
No.
So Jeff, you and Josh you've talked to Newport, you're looking at a study that might, and who will perform that study?
We're waiting on the information from.
Okay. And have they done that already? Have they completed that study already?
It was completing the day that we got there.
Okay. Yeah, so anything that we can do to help it, yes, and it's not just in the morning. It can be 9:30 at night. It can be all sorts of times, so. Sounds like maybe we just need to do a little more investigation.
any other issues at the plant? No, I'm just asking while you're.
No, nothing.
Any questions for Jeff? Hearing none, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item is industrial pretreatment program report.
Good evening. The industrial pretreatment for the month of August. Farmera took over the licensing control of the Noramco facility in Coventry, so now the permit has been switched. They did their self-monitoring and all permits were in compliance. During the July report, you might notice that Amtrol had a violation on one of their self-monitoring parameters. We've asked them to resample and they did submit it in August and they're back into compliance. Provida Labs, which is they did their self-monitoring. They were supposed to report in July, but because this is their first time, they had some confusion. We allowed them to go in August. So that August was extended to August, and we haven't received the result. In September, we received the results, and they were back into compliance. During the month of August, there were 6 restaurants that we inspected. Of those 6 restaurants, 3 of them had significant grease problems. The Hong Kong restaurant, this was a number of violations we had. So not only did they get a notice of violation, they also got a $500 fine. And their problem was that the grease recovery device was overloaded and there was no record of cleaning. And that can cause problems. If grease gets into the system, that's another source of potential odors. The International Food also had the grease recovery device wasn't working. And again, there were no records, so a notice of violation was issued to that company. And the Mexican Grill, same thing. Most of the time when we go to these restaurants, they're either in compliance or the device is overloaded. They get a notice of violation, we come back and recheck it. If they have completed it, they don't get another notice and we continue to monitor them. With regards to new connections, 24 Quaker Lane, the owner began the installation of the test location, the backflow valve, and it should be completed during the month of September. Plans were reviewed for Midtown Square. That's on Sandy Bottom Road in Coventry. This is tenant space. Plans met the conditions, the requirements, and a letter was issued. Now you have the Dollar General. Initially during the month of August, the plans did not meet the requirements, but subsequent later in the month and in early September, they did complete the requirements and a permit was issued for them. 577 Tyoke Avenue, plans didn't, excuse me, plans did not meet the requirements and a letter was issued. 577 is an 8 unit commercial building with 2 food services. Plans for 282 Pulaski Street located in Coventry. This is a commercial condo. The submission did not include the application or the fees, but the plans that we reviewed had only minor corrections. So as far as the plans go, that's fine, but until they submit the application and the fees, that we'll wait to give them the approval. Steve's Bounce House LLC in the center of New England submitted, their submission did not meet the requirements and a letter was also issued. Flash Car Car Wash in the center of New England. This is the former dentist site. For some reason, their engineering plans are not meeting the requirements that it would be for a car wash. So we're in the process of working through with the engineer, their engineer of record, to make sure they're in compliance with that. The program is working with the engineer for 33 Factory Street. This is, is the Arctic Mill. What we're trying to do here is there are 2 components to the project, as you may know. One is the residential in the upper level of the Arctic Mill. The other one is what we'll call the commercial. They want to get the residential started and underway. So we're working on that, but we don't want to neglect the potential of the commercial and the possibility of microbreweries or other commercial institutions coming in there. So we want to coordinate the 2, but we do want to give them the freedom to complete and build out the residential space because we know that's important to get things moving. But we want to get, we want to work back and forth on this.
We talked about this when we had our meeting upstairs to make sure that they're not ready to open. They go, wait, you didn't tell us we needed to do this to be ahead of the game.
Exactly.
So it makes sense to do that.
Exactly. We're trying to, because of the potential, the word was a microbrewery. There are issues with microbreweries that they have to do some sort of testing and some modifications to the piping inside the plant. So we want to make sure that's done and they don't combine everything and then say, I didn't know about it.
Saves them money to do it at once when they know they need to do it rather than wait later and have to go back in and hire somebody else to come in there.
And that's our plan. We're trying to work those through. With 40 Keys Way, it's a meat processor that's going in there. Now, it's unclear from the pretreatment standpoint whether it's just going to be packaging or production of meats and meats byproducts. So we didn't get a floor plan. We didn't get an explanation of what they're doing. So we're waiting for that information. Because obviously, if it's just packing and distribution, that's a very dry, and we'll call it dry.
And that is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But if it's meat production, excuse me, there's a lot of wash downs and other things that we have to be aware of. So once we have that, if it's just packing, distribution, that should be an easy application. But they need to submit it so we can approve it without calling the manager and asking him to intercede. But that's all I have for pre-trip.
So Jim, question.
Sure.
So if you have I understand with food and everything, the grease traps, but we have a Steve's Bounce House, right?
I'm sorry.
You mentioned Steve's Bounce House.
Yes.
I don't know Steve, but obviously there's a difference in
Yes.
what he would have to do, what the company would have to do versus say the Hong Kong, like you mentioned.
Right.
So what do
Steve's
you?
Bounce House, the application, it wasn't complete. If they don't explain to us what they're doing in the application process, I can't make a job. Steve's Bounce House versus the restaurants, entirely different. I mean, as far as I understand from talking with people, it's a bounce house place where they
Right. So
rehab it. So that, I don't know if it's
So-
washed down, if they wash down inside the building.
all right, okay.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
I was thinking more of storage, not like they're using I don't know, bleach or acid or have a leak or anything like that, you know?
They don't tell us. See, this is the problem.
Right.
I find the applications of, if they take the time to fill it out or call and have a question, what do you mean by this? It gets done faster.
So
They-
the application wasn't filled out. It's, all right, okay.
Any other questions for Jim?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Next item is financial report. Sorry about that. Fiscal year 2022 operating and debt expenses, which was for the year ending June 30th, totaled $9,118,113, which was 96% of our annual budget. Mr. Savetti was at the facility the middle of August to conduct his audit. We are awaiting his report to see where we will finish for the year, combined with the revenue to get a total picture of where we'll finish 2022. I have reached out to him again, just waiting to hear back. Year-to-date operating and debt expenses for the current year, FY '23 through August 31st, totaled $1,025,158, which is 11% of our annual budget. FY '23 sewer usage and industrial collections through August 31st totaled $2,878,257, which is 32% of the total billed. Fiscal year 2023 sewer assessment collections through August 31st totaled $146,018, which is 59% of the total billed for the year. The next two items, Council President, members of the council, are new to your report. You might have noticed going forward, we'll be providing a monthly update on our overtime costs and our sludge removal costs, so we can discuss it with you on a monthly basis if there's any questions or concerns. Year-to-date overtime for fiscal year 2023 through August 31st totaled $24,091, which is 17% of our annual budget. The facility experienced higher overtime costs in July and August due to the retirement of two operators, an employee who was out on medical leave, and employee vacations. The facility has been able to offset most of the overtime costs with savings in budget code 205110 sewer department salaries. Year-to-date savings in this line item through August 31st has totaled $19,888 and is due to the two vacant operator positions since July 1st, the sewer commission clerk position that was vacant the month of July and first week of August, and an employee who was out on medical leave who was paid through workers' compensation. So we have spent a little over $24,000 on overtime, which is slightly higher than what we'd like to be at that point in the year, but we've offset almost $20,000 of it by saving it in the salaries line item. I believe we had one operator position started yesterday, and then other operator is starting next Monday. So we will hopefully begin to see a level off and a reduction in overtime moving forward.
Any questions for Tony?
He's not done.
Oh, you're not done? Keep going, Tony.
Sorry, Council President. Next item is also new year-to-date sludge removal. Year-to-date sludge removal costs through August 31st totaled $107,041, which is 16% of the annual budget. That figure does not include our August Synagro invoice because we have not received it yet. The facility was required to transport sludge to Rhode Island Resource Recovery for most of July due to ongoing issues at the Woonsocket Treatment Facility and Synagro needing to dedicate its available space for the Woonsocket facility. The first 2 weeks of August, Synagro closes for annual maintenance, which required the facility to offload our resource recovery for that period of time as well. This has resulted in an increased year-to-date expense of $23,439 versus what the facility would have spent if we had been able to offload at Synagro. So at this point, through the end of August, we've spent $23,439 more on sludge removal because of those offloads at the landfill. I don't know if anybody has any questions, Council President.
Yeah.
Any questions up to now?
Well, that's actually,
Sorry, I know I'm giving you a lot.
that's actually very frustrating. I mean, and we talked about it, and having Tony add these two items and keep us up to date on a monthly basis, I think makes perfect sense. The sludge removal is very frustrating. Not a whole lot we can do about it. We had 304 tons go to the landfill at a much higher cost than what Synagro. So when we hear things like they needed to help the Woonsocket treatment facility, that doesn't make me warm and fuzzy, obviously. But my understanding is there's not much we can do about it. So if it continues at that pace, we clearly will be over budget on sludge removal.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Previously, the facility was mailing delinquent notices twice per year. We've started with this first quarter. We're going to follow the tax collector's policy, and we're going to mail them 4 times a year at the end of each quarter. The goal is to keep folks from getting further behind, from accruing additional penalties, and also get the past due amounts into the town faster than doing it twice a year.
What's the cost on that, Tony?
When I looked at accounts, when I believe it was about $2,000 a year, which we should be able to offset with the increased revenue, or I can find it in the budget.
All right,
And cash and investments through August 31st totaled $3,249,777. And that's my financial report, Council President.
Any questions for Tony? Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is Resolution SC 2022-31, abatement of sewer usage fees.
Move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Just want to give an update on this, Jeff, real quick. Tony, whoever has the
Sure.
update.
Council President, this property is for U-Haul and Technology Way. It's located in the old G-Tech. I don't want to call it compound, but the old G-Tech compound. G-Tech has sold off a number of buildings over the last few years individually. And we found out through a phone call to the billing clerk from a new building owner that he hadn't received a sewer usage bill. That made her look into this. With some great help from Kent County Water, they were able to provide us the accurate meters for each one of the buildings in that complex. So U-Haul was overbilled this year, $2,986.09 based on that confusion. The gentleman who had not received the bill has been billed out for that amount because that was his usage. So this abatement would be revenue neutral if it's approved by the council.
That individual's not paying any late fees or anything?
No, sir.
No.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item is public comment.
Any public comment on the sewer department? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.